The demand issues we see as kind of quite a long-running factor. You just had to look at the statistics for gasoline demand in the US over the last couple of weeks, which dropped by just about over 48% over 2 weeks. Compliance is a very interesting one. If you look at what has happened over the course of the last few years, it's only really with the involuntary cuts from Venezuela and Iran under a very severe sanctions regime, and then the ongoing issues in Libya that have actually meant that the OPEC Plus agreement has kind of fallen in line. The majority or a lot of the other countries within OPEC Plus have been pumping more. The Saudis, up until recently, have been taking a bigger share of the load. But we saw, as was alluded to in the clip earlier, very high exports from Saudi, in line with their target of supplying just over 12.3, I think it was, million barrels a day of crude into the market through April. We saw a very big increase, kind of in the 2 to 2.5 million barrels a day increase in exports from the country as well. And we're still seeing that. So yes, in the last couple of days, the average does seem to be coming down, but they're still exporting about 10 million barrels a day at the moment. And we really need to see that drop in order to have any kind of real confidence that this is going to change in the short term.
I just want to go back to the storage issue. So you don't think that these cuts that have been announced in the last 48 hours are enough to mitigate the looming storage issue that's facing the oil market?
Correct. Not immediately anyway. I think in the longer run, yes, there will be a big benefit. However, they've stated that the severe cuts are only going to be implemented in May and June. We've still got another couple of weeks through April to get through. On our assumptions from the other day, when we look at this, we thought, well, there's probably about a month's worth, about 30 odd days worth of onshore capacity. Being realistic, basically, in theory, there is a lot more in the world, but it's probably really just not usable. You're really stretching it. And ultimately, that's why we're still seeing a lot of vessels on the water with crude that can't make it in. You look at what's happening, the announcement from India last week, where the Indian government has taken on the purchasing commitments of the refineries in the country, and the Indian government has strategic petroleum reserves with capacity to fill. But again, as I was saying, that capacity is essentially already being factored in by the market as being used. And so it's just moving volumes from one tank to another, essentially. We just don't see how we don't reach tank tops realistically before the end of May.